Hi, my name is Dirk Schober. I'm solution engineer for Tableau, and I want to talk to you today about the risk of doing analytical tasks purely with AI tools. In this case, I'm using Claude for the example here. So I might be a business user, and I prepared a prompt by that business user that for better readability, I put here into that notepad. The thing is, I'm prepping a board meeting and I would have some CSV files that I add here to Claude. So I added that to Claude, and as you can see, these are CSV files from renewal, pipeline, forecasting, opportunity management, and so on. So typically data that you would maybe download from operational systems like SAP or Salesforce. And I added that here to my Claude environment. So I have a prompt here that tells Claude to create a complete dashboard, a visual dashboard here that I could use as an input for my communication to my board. So I'm firing off exactly that prompt here now, and let's see what comes out of that. It's a bit hidden for me, or completely hidden for me, what exactly it's done in the background. So that means at this point of time, I already have no control about the pipeline of the data preparation, the organization of the data internally, and Claude is just doing its thing here. So let's wait for it to finish. So here's the dashboard. Actually, it doesn't really fit on my screen, but it promises me that I can click on things and then have filters. If this is useful, different thing. But it's kind of interactive. Maybe like I would expect that it has some of these large numbers to collect everything. So it's giving me obviously kind of overview, and then it's giving me a summary of the board, a summary for the board that I was asking for, that I can now copy and paste into some kind of PowerPoint or something. So I could certainly ask it to create an HTML file if I, as a business user, would know how to share that with others, for example, with an HTML file. I could ask for that, but actually I'm maybe not aware of that. So I have to stick with what I have on the screen. It's a one-time built thing, so it's more or less thrown away tomorrow, and I need to rebuild it every day, every week, or whenever I need that. So that's some information. And also, if we look back a bit, there was some discussion about the quality of the data. And obviously, Claude is quite intelligent to not only take the numbers and aggregate them up, but also it kind of tries to cross-check the numbers within itself. That sounds like an advantage and like a sophisticated thing. But on the other hand, do I have control about that? Did I get any question on, hey, how's your process working? Where did you get the CSV files from, and so on? No, I didn't get any question on that. So I'm not completely sure if Claude did all the things correct here. So why not? I mean, maybe I know some kind of source of data that is trusted and agreed internally on. And maybe I could use that for double checking the numbers and being sure before I go into the board meeting. So why not now take another prompt? That's a bit shorter. Let me open that again in a separate window. That's a separate window. You can read that a bit better. So we take exactly that connection that we were seeing before, exactly the data source where we connected to before, and say, okay, let's take that as the trusted source and compare that to my numbers that come from the CSV files. In this case, don't build a dashboard, but just give me a table showing the differences. So that would be my check before going into my board meeting, so I'm not completely embarrassed before doing so. So let's give it a try to have Claude accessing the trusted data source and compare that to my self-built dashboard. So here it is. Let's look at the summary first. So first of all, the pipe coverage ratio was directionally backwards and would have been the most embarrassing number in the room. My dashboard shows every region under 0.5 times of the PDS. So that's quite embarrassing if I show a bad number here. Secondly, the public sector commit doesn't exist in the PDS for whatever reason. I'm not sure about that. I would have to investigate that. Maybe we changed the process here meanwhile without me knowing. And close loss is overstated by 10 to 29% across every region. So let's look at the details here. We see some kind of logic why there is a difference maybe. So let's look at the forecast commit here for Americas. We have a difference of 74%. The CSV summed all 26 individual reps, but the PDS commit field is explicitly built to sum only the 5 region leaders, which makes sense because the regional leaders would make the main important input to the forecast. And if we summarize just the individual reps, there might be a difference, and that's exactly the difference that's shown here. So if we look at something else, for example, nearly 200% difference, CSV used open deals closing Q2 only as a wrong scope. So obviously, Claude was not able to handle that logic that is built into the published data source already as being a clear thing, what is open pipeline, and Claude was just assuming something, putting together some numbers here that are simply wrong. So that's maybe an embarrassing result. If I would have gone to my management, I would have really lived into some struggle. If I would have gone to the meeting with my management with these numbers, I would be really embarrassed afterwards. So if you're interested in that, I was using Tableau MCP here to connect from Claude to my Tableau environment. So here's my Tableau environment, here's Claude, and the MCP server sits in between to understand what skills, what things can I do on the Tableau system and execute that on the system to get the information into Claude. So that way I can get the trusted numbers out of the governed system. And of course, in the future, I could also do that with different other agents or within Agentforce and put it together with also other MCP servers. So for example, get retail data plus weather data coming together. Always interesting to see how people behave when weather changes. That would be one example to put things together, or something like Salesforce data and SAP data coming together with your Tableau data. The thing is, if you do not control that, then you might be running into trouble. If you just leave the desktop client, in this case, running it as itself, it would apply its own logic and you would go into trouble. If you are using Tableau as your trusted platform, this is to be considered far more than just a fancy desktop tool to drag and drop data onto a canvas and then see a visualization. That's long gone. Tableau is your one-stop platform for anything in terms of analytics. It's very flexible, it's very open. It has these composable structure where we can use Tableau MCP and other API-based technology. So we can connect it to other systems, that's the meaning, and bring in our knowledge and decision engine, not only within the Tableau platform itself, but also outside of that environment. And that way you can even make more use of your investment that you trusted in your past. So that's maybe a summary. And be aware of what you're doing when you are interacting with AI just for doing analytical tasks. And if you want to know more of that, please get in contact with us. We are happy to do some workshops with you on this topic. Thank you very much.